One of the things that has become extremely obvious with the apprentices that we have right now is their use of safety equipment. Most of us that have been around the organization for a long time went through the changes with climbing apparatus, with climbing belts, with vehicles, with driving, with seat belts. What was acceptable in 1978 and 1985 and 1990 is no longer acceptable within the province and within our own trade. So what's interesting to me is when I watch a young apprentice now climb with the apparatus that we used to fight with, we used to struggle to use, they make it look very easy. And that is a huge change in the organization and our strategy. I don't think that everybody has a clear understanding of how tough it was for our older linemen to adapt to equipment as it was being developed, as it was being generated, as it was being put into law.
I think the safety culture is quite a bit better right now. When we started on, we had our safety meetings, and as one old guy said, safety was good if it didn't affect production. And we've kind of gone away from that thought now. We're quite more safety conscious. Yeah, there was a lot more macho back then. When you climbed, you free climbed. And if you climbed using your belt, you were too slow and taking too long. And not like you made it the rest of your career. I think when they initiated the fall arrest, it was, for the older guys, it was quite a culture shock, and because, like I said, we were taught not to use it. But now that everybody's into it, a lot of the guys in our area are using the pole shark, and they're really happy with it. And there are a few different types of it, and then it keeps you from falling, and it's good.
Well, his war stories made me appreciate the bucket trucks and diggers and not having to float poles down the bay to build a line that you couldn't get any machinery to, and climbing everything as opposed to using a bucket. And I can't remember the one story, floating the poles down.
Wawash Kesh.
Wawash Kesh, yeah. And having to carry the poles as opposed to letting the digger or the pole trailer do all the work.
Or the helicopter. Back then there was very, very seldom helicopter. It was all you just carried the pole to where it was going, and then dig the hole and then pike poles and stood it. So the one guy told me the only thing good about the good old days is they're gone.
I think the company itself always approached safety with the same intentions, was to make sure that everybody came home at the end of the day. But when I came to Essex, I say it was my second year on, it was quite an eye-opener. Face it, when I came to Essex, I was wearing my hard hat the first day because I just come from Lambton the year before, and they wore their hard hat, but in Essex they never thought anything of it. That changed after a while. I mean, as the safety thing came around more and more, they started to wear their hard hat, and everybody started wearing it. But honestly, in '78, that wasn't necessarily one thing that was a real big concern.
I absolutely think that the younger people in the trade are more open to the changes in the technology and fall protection and safety, because we haven't spent our whole careers using one thing. Now something's being introduced to us at an early stage in our career. It's not a big adjustment to get used to it.
I'm 28 years on, just about 28 years on. Culture change, I think, for sure, from when I started on the company, where we all wanted to do the right thing. We all worked safely, as safe as we could. But there was probably a reluctance to go to the incident reporting, maybe as much as we are now. And it's important that we do report all incidents, and that we learn from the review that we go through during an incident and after, such that we can teach ourselves to not go there again.
Safety has done some evolution throughout the years, through 30 years of being with the company. I recall in the areas years ago, part of the safety, the recognition of safety was that, yeah, you have to be careful in the job. The other side of the coin was you're doing it because you don't want the boss to yell at you. But maybe you didn't quite understand what the safety reasons were, why you were doing certain things. And over time, maybe it's with people's maturity or people's understanding of the company, you do understand why you're dealing with some of those safety facets, and why you're reading the rule book, and why you're planning your job in those areas. So it's either that we learn more about our safety, or we're more comfortable with a boss who doesn't yell quite so much.
The safety culture within Hydro One is, everyone is looking out for each other, and I think that's really important. And you know, having the monthly safety meetings, and you know, just going over all the types of things that, you know, people deal with across the province, and having the crew look out for the younger ones. I think that's very important. They really key in on safety every month. I think it's, you know, a great program that they have.
30 years ago, when I walked into my first assignment, there was a lot more staff in a location. There's very few bucket trucks. There was lots of sets of spurs, belts. The new guys starting today walk into an ops center, an apprentice crew, and they see more buckets than they do the boom trucks. And I guess what I'm driving at is, in the 70s when I started, a lot of the things we did manual labor on. Now they use hydraulics. Limits of approach and the setup of vehicles, because the vehicles are bigger. Like I said before, we didn't have many, so we didn't have to worry about setting them up. But today it's more about setting up the vehicles. They're bigger, they reach further, we can do more with it. And I'm sure it's reduced the strains and pains that they have, but I think we were, don't take this the wrong way, the young guys, but probably more fit with what we did because we were used to the physical side of it. And today they use hydraulics more than they do themselves. And whether that's just something us older people think it was like, or whether it's true, I guess that's yet to be seen.
I think it's like the old story where they used to walk to school uphill both ways, right? So everything was harder back then than what it is now. So, but we still
didn't hear that, did you? For me,
we still, you know, we still work pretty hard, but I think we work smarter than they did. So we're not going to be walking around at 6 years old with walkers. We're going to be, you know, we're going to be able to walk normal. But you know, like last year, for example, we still did a lot of bull work. We were doing water work, so we were climbing everything, and there was hardly any buckets we were on. So
I still think we were more fit than they were. But anyways, I'll leave it at that.
Safety culture between Hydro One and the previous employers was a big difference. Coming from a construction background into Hydro One, it's from the private sector, it's pretty much night and day. Hydro One's pretty good with being willing to give up a little productivity in order to capitalize on health and safety. The other side of the coin in the construction business is go, 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 get it done as quickly as possibly as you can, and we'll worry about the rest later.
Well, I guess I would recommend to anyone out there, parents, any parent that have children heading into the workplace, to just keep reminding them that if you don't feel it's safe, just don't do it. Make sure you stop, talk to somebody to find out if it's and make sure you feel comfortable that it's safe to do that. So I've seen just too many examples and heard too many situations where young adults that are coming into the workforce for the first time, being eager and enthusiastic and wanting to work, and that are jumping in maybe a little too quickly without stopping to think about is that safe.
Well, since I started with Hydro, we were Hydro One in 1978. Safety was always utmost priority at Hydro, and I have no apprehensions at all of bringing in my son into this environment, because I know that we've put in a lot of effort, and the safety that we have incorporated in all our work procedures and whatnot is up to par.
Job planning, tailboards, for the amount of time we put into them, they make the job much easier, much safer, and they let everybody aware of what they're going to be doing. And once a job starts, we roll through it pretty well, and with as few as possible hookups, and definitely job planning is paid off when the job starts.
It seemed like maybe a lot of times in the past that some of the older people that maybe I worked with, that they were a little bit more possibly oriented in getting the job done safely, but then there was a little bit of emphasis on also possibly getting it done quick also. And I think nowadays, like safety's number one from start to finish. That might be the possibly the difference. Not that it wasn't before, but there was also the safety plus let's get her done quick sort of attitude back then. And I think now it's just you know, if it doesn't get done today, we can do it tomorrow, but let's do it safe today.